Thank you for your work in presenting options.
No problem.
Items to be considered at future meetings. Are there any items? I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Call Public Works Committee ordered, with the minute taker note that the same people are present except for Mr. Lewitton. I need a motion to approve the minutes for August 27, 2009.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Report and recommendation of School Street request payment number 2 partial. I got some. I will obtain that motion to give us second, the request payment number 2. Could you, Dave, could you help me out with the numbers there? I can't find my,
This is a request for payment number 2 to MQ Construction Company in the amount of $103,478.
that is my motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor? All questions? Go. Mr. Nuzio?
Dave, I don't know, the first payment we made, $195,000. I know they put in the new water mains and B boxes and all that stuff. The second one, I mean, I don't see, other than hauling some dirt over to Commercial Street, where's the rest of the work? I mean, so what else when are they gonna get going on that? Taking out the asphalt and putting in the new sewers and
Well,
whatnot?
actually, what they've been working on is the storm sewer. That's the main, the 2 big items in this is they did all the new water taps and water services, which was a big job. And they got all those done, and then all of the storm sewer is done. Actually, the mainline storm sewers were completed today, but this is the storm sewer, the street inlets, the street manholes, the end section near the creek. That's most of what this is.
Okay, so a lot of the work's going down at west end of the property.
Right, next week they start the excavation and the curb and gutter.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And by the way, Dave, I like the way you laid it out. It was a very good layout.
If you need sheets, I got it.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, that's done. The other item is, 2000, report and recommendation, 2009 street improvement request payment number 2, a partial payment. I believe there is someone in the ordinance someone that likes to speak to us about that. I'm sorry. So I'll make the motion to approve payment number 2 for street improvements.
Second.
Question?
Dave, I called you the other day on that new asphalt that was laid in the cul-de-sac over at Pine Tree Lane in Royal Oaks, the one that was coming apart. You get a chance to take a look at that?
I did not get a chance to look at that. That work is actually not included in this pay request.
Okay.
It would be in the following
next one.
one, and we'll check that out. I will mention that they ran into a lot of problems on Royal Oaks because that existing pavement is in such bad shape. They were having trouble getting compaction because it's basically dirt underneath it when they ground it off. Don't know if that's the particular problem here, but they did run into that problem in general out there, but we'll check it out. And again, none of that work is reflected in this pay request.
Can I do a follow-up? Dave, with this problem that they had with trying to get the compaction, I'm hoping that this, normally a surface job should last, what, 20 years, 15?
No.
Royal Oaks was not a full resurfacing. That was just our patching.
Right.
So I would never put those kind of numbers on that. We know that pavement is too thin to begin with. You know, you normally would do a resurfacing on a pavement that is sound and in good condition, and you're just replacing the surface on it, and then it's, you know, they say 20 years, realistically, it's more like 15 before it needs to be resurfaced again, but Royal Oaks was just a.
But we will
patch
make
thing.
it till when we reconstruct that whole subdivision, right? It's not
No.
gonna be something that's gonna, year and a half from now, it's gonna be
No,
garbage again.
it'll make it till then.
All right.
Mr. Cadala?
Yeah, Mr. Graff, is Forest View Harvey on this one?
Also the surface patching and none of that. This was the streets that got the full treatment, not just the patching. The
Okay.
patching would be a later pay request.
Okay, long as I have the floor, though, I just want to put it out there to you. I think there's a resident or two who might be concerned that, on Forest View in particular, that patching, which turned out to be about a 75% resurface, my best guess from looking at it, that while it should have only been a resurfacing and the pitch should have stayed the same, that the pitch might have actually changed, and just there's a visual concern that maybe there might be something to cause some property owners additional surface runoff water into their front yards. Beyond that, I don't know what else to say, but just to ask you to maybe look into it, and maybe we can talk about it in the near future, too.
I did hear one complaint about that. I put a call into the resident and I haven't heard back from them. There's no reason on a resurfacing, though, that any of the drainage characteristics should have changed, but, you know, we'll investigate it.
Thank you very much.
My question, Dave, let me do one other follow-up question. When do you think all those other projects will come to be paid that we are having problems with? Like the Oak, his street, a couple other streets. When do you think that payment's going to come?
Probably in the next committee meeting, the October committee.
My question is, will we have the sample done that we requested?
Oh, we should have that done next week. I think they cored it today, so we'll have a report from them next week on that.
Okay. So, any other, I have a motion, I have a second, all in favor? Oppose? No? Okay, guys, I'm going to take this out order just for a minute. I want to go step down to item number 9 because this nice lady who's been sitting there listening to us for several hours, and she has a comment on the contract award for 2009 sidewalk. So if you guys
If I
don't mind.
can make a point,
Sure.
first mention that I have to apologize when I missed this, when I went through committee. I didn't realize it was B and G. As it came up to council, I asked for it to be tabled because of the problems I've had. And what I did since then is went around in my ward to 10 or 11 other driveways that had been recently poured by BG within the last 3 years, and found that they all, just about all of them except for 2, had significant amount of spalling or pitting. And I did meet Mrs. Mastowski, and I'd just like to let her know let you know what happened to her. So if you'd like to come up to the podium. Yep. This is a letter that she wrote to BG 2 years or 1 year after pouring your concrete.
I wrote that letter. Okay, in 2005, they did the work, and I wrote the letter in 2008 after I went through so many loops trying to get in touch with them or coming here to talk to the city of Wooddale. Well, good evening. My name is Liz Mostowski, and I live in Wooddale on 256 Robin Lane. And on 2005, I hired BG Concrete Company to do my driveway. I had been living in Wooddale for 23 years, and 17 years after, I decided to beautify Wooddale by doing my driveway that is full of holes the size of golf balls or quarters. I'm very disappointed with this company. I don't think they should be hired to do any work in my city of Wooddale, which is your city too. I think they did a poor job. Their job is very inferior. I know, I'm sorry, Paul mentioned Italians that work better doing cement work, and even Polish people that I went around my neighborhood knocking doors and asking them who did their jobs. Okay, their workmanship was beautiful. Oh my God, when I saw it, I think even my neighbors came to see, oh wow, this is beautiful. And even some got embarked in hiring BG to do their work. But 4 months after, I started noticing that my driveway became like a checkerboard. I didn't know what happened. 9 months after, kind of like little pebbles, it was not smooth, like little pebbles were coming out. Finally, those little pebbles that they were like a dime start breaking. And I counted 300 holes. That's why I'm a teacher. I love to count. I went with chalk and I counted more than 300 holes. By now I have more than 400, but I haven't dared myself to go outside and start going with my chalk because I already retired. But the bottom line of the whole thing, please, maybe perhaps it's better to spend more money than to hire a company that is going to do such an inferior and poor job of concrete. I don't know how do they do their job. I really don't know what is good cement or bad cement. But I think 4 months after, when I started seeing all this that was happening, I don't think this is good, okay? Almost, next year I will be 60, and I don't think I can spend $6,000 and maybe more, because I really don't know the price of cement anymore. I pay $5,600 plus $200 to spray it, because they said that can last longer if you spray that every year. I no longer have holes. I have chunks, coming, big pieces of cement, maybe 3 inches long. At the beginning, there was a big piece that was more than 3 inches long, was like 7 inches long. Now is the holes are getting like, I believe it's cement because it's powder, and this is not fair. Okay, let me just explain to you. I wrote the letter in 2008 out of desperation, because every April I look at my driveway and it looked horrible. Well, I came to the city of Wooddale, and a very nice lady gave me the phone number of someone from Public Works that never returned my phone calls. And he was apparently an expert and engineer, and could tell me more about why the cement turned that way. Well, he never called. The city of Wooddale was doing work around my block on Wooddale, putting like, I don't know how you call the borders.
Curbs.
The curbs and everything. And I asked a couple of guys, would you please come, and out of desperation, would you please come and tell me what's wrong? What did they do wrong with my driveway? Even Mr. Wesley came a couple of times, and I say, Roy, look at my driveway. This is not fair, okay? And, I kept complaining and complaining, and I'm happy I'm here to stop BJ Concrete Company, Inc., to do their job in Wooddale. If you can hear my voice and you can hear my experience, I really don't think I can follow a lawsuit with this, but my driveway will be like that for the rest of my years in Wooddale, because I can never afford to spend $6,000 or more, making a driveway. That's all. I hope you can hear and you can really decide not to give a contract to someone that does such a poor job. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your input. Alderman Sharkey.
If I may follow up on that, I'd like to, everything that she said is the same thing that happened to me, except my driveway is about 3 times as long, and I passed down the pictures of what it looks like, and if you took any square yard of that concrete, there's probably 10 to 15 spalls or pits in it, and you can put your fingernail in there and you can scratch that soft rock out. And I'm told that it's something about 6 bags of concrete you're supposed to use, and so much hard gravel and so much soft gravel. Evidently, this wasn't followed, and I did, as the company suggests, I did their 4 points, wetting down the concrete, allowing 5 days cure time before I walked on it even. And I used a curing compound. I bought 5 gallons and put it out there, I forget, almost $100 worth. And I haven't used any de-icing chemicals, yet the driveway looks that way. What I'm getting up to here is that I would not want, if I went out in front and looked at my sidewalk or any sidewalk in Ward 3, they're worn down. They're like, almost like sandpaper, but there's no pits, or very, very seldom do you find a pit or a hole. I would hate to see us spend $33,000 for sidewalks and a year or two later have all these sidewalks full of holes and pits. So what I'm asking is that we look at the second responsible bidder. I just don't, out of all the 10 places that I checked, I think only 2 of them look decent. Like her, my driveway looked beautiful at first, but then after the first year, and it's gone downhill since then. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. Nuzio?
Yeah, I think this is gonna become a legal question,
I was just ready to
Because,
bring that up.
because basically lowest qualified bidder. If we haven't disqualified this bidder, I mean, we're gonna have to get a recommendation from the attorney, but my question is to Dave, what are the specifications on the sidewalk? I mean, my personal feeling, just from dealing with very minimal concrete that I've done, I think they chinched on the mix. They didn't use probably a 6-bag mix, maybe they used 5 or 4.5 bags. Do we have a set specification that they have to follow, so if we take a core sample that we're gonna know?
Right, we require the IDOT standards, which is the 6-bag mix and a whole, air entrainment and a whole bunch of other requirements. But it is the IDOT standard mix.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
I just want to add to the residents, her concerns there. When I was out there, I also seen by the parkway that the wire mesh was even showing up up of the concrete there. It wasn't all the way down. So, and I just want to add, Dave, has B&G done work for the city before? And what work have they done?
They've done work for the city, although I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what project they've done. But we can research that and check it out.
I guess are we gonna throw this back to ask the attorney, or?
Well, here's a question I have. This is gonna be a legal question for the attorney. I am going to take a recommendation, I'm going to make a motion on the floor that we table it to council for further discussion with legal opinion. So we get, because technically, you're absolutely right, I don't know what the protocols is on that. So I will attain that motion to table it to council for legal opinion before we do any action on this project.
I'll second that.
I have a
If I
motion, I
may.
have a second, Alderman Sharkey, on the
If I
question.
may, I checked with the manager, and his comments, I'd like to hear them expressed again.
I'm not an attorney, but I've dealt with this for the past 27 or 28 years. Attorneys have advised me over the course of the years that you're obligated to take the lowest responsible bid. And if you have valid reasons for rejecting the lowest bidder, you have that right. If I were an alderman, I would take the testimony of this lady and the testimony of Alderman Shockey as sufficient proof to disqualify this particular contractor and award the project to the second lowest responsible bidder. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer. I suspect if you table this to next week, you'll hear the same thing from Pat Bond, but it's only a week, and if you want to hold this off and hear from the resident expert, that's fine with us.
I really rather hear from our attorney. We only polling it till next week, Thursday, and then we can award the contract. So, all right, there's a motion, there's a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
I think the motion carries. Right. We'll make a decision Thursday, next Thursday. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to back to the.
Mr. Chairman, was there a roll call on this?
No, because it passed. 2-0. 4-2.
Right.
Let's do a roll call. The motion on the floor is to hold it off till next week till we get legal advice from our city attorney. That is a motion. There's a second. We'll do a roll call on it.
Alderman Shockey,
No?
Alderman Winger,
No.
Alderman Eugene Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Cadella. Yes. Alderman Police,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
No.
Who cares that we get legal opinion? Okay. The next item is item number 6, intergovernment agreement with DePage County LA discharge detention elimination. You got in your packet long detail ordinance that the county is trying to, actually, Gary, don't we pretty much, I mean, Dave, don't we pretty much have to pass this?
Well, the ordinance is the law of the land in the county, although they did leave an out by giving the communities an option to opt out of the program, but then you would have to develop your own ordinance following similar lines, so
It's a lot more
probably
paperwork.
wouldn't make much sense to do that. I would add, just to help clarify this, we are talking about stormwater here only. We're talking about basically dumping things other than stormwater into the storm sewer. None of this has to do with sanitary sewer. This is strictly a stormwater requirement.
So let me ask you this question. Before it came to us, did it go to Stormwater Committee for their review?
It did not go to Stormwater Commission for their review. I was going to advise them about this. Normally, they've dealt more with the flooding type issues and not the code enforcement type issues of this. So I did not send that to them for a recommendation from them, but I would certainly inform them about it.
So, my opinion, I really think Stormwater should look at this too before we make a motion, I mean, to pass this. I mean, I don't see a deadline on it that we have to sign on board on it, do we?
I don't think there's a deadline in the ordinance. They're trying to get everyone's intergovernmental agreement by the end of October.
By October?
Right.
Eugene,
Alderman Coles.
I would suggest you send it to Stormwater and let them read it over before we vote on it.
Because I'm just reading on page 5, it says, reflect flow runoff or drainage for any form of natural change resulting in such petition. And that's got to do with stormwater. Okay, storm design, you know, I'd like to see them look it over too, before we make a recommendation to it. They meet when, Wednesday?
Yeah, they meet
Is there a way that they could discuss this on Wednesday, put it on their agenda?
I can try.
Because we have a deadline of October to approve it, right?
Correct.
I would see if the stormwater could look at this on Wednesday's meeting, due to the fact is we still have a deadline, and it has to be back by us by October, and we aren't going to meet the third week of September here, so, I mean, I would like it to go back to the stormwater to be looked at. Sunuzio.
Stormwater, I think, has 2 or 3 speakers next week. I think they're gonna be a little busy. This one's a little intense.
Well,
I don't know if they're gonna be able to squeeze this in on
my,
that.
my question is, could the stormwater pull a special meeting?
I can check with the chairman if she wants to.
I mean, why don't they have a meeting Wednesday, and then see if they could do a following meeting the following Wednesday for input? Mr. Roy Wesley.
If you're gonna go that way, we're not gonna have a meeting. We got one on the 17th, correct? And then that's it for September, correct?
Right.
So we wouldn't hit the deadline of October. What's the
Got by the
difference?
end of October.
What's the, if we're late, what's the,
There's no firm deadline. County staff wants these all collected by October. There's no deadline in the ordinance for
So
doing
what-
it, that I'm aware of.
so why don't we just throw this back to stormwater and let them, no special meeting for them, let them, because they have it once a month, right? So,
All right,
we'll make it. Do we wanna, you wanna make that a?
Mr. Coles?
It's only 20 pages.
Okay. I'll make a motion to send it to stormwater and to have them get it back to us as soon as possible.
Second.
And leave it up to the chairman if they choose to have a special meeting to get it done. Okay? I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
What about opposed?
Oppose?
Opposed.
Okay. I didn't think there was gonna be any opposed. All right, I'll make a report and recommendation, purchase a anti-ice equipment global salt alternative. As you know, we got in our packet the other day, this is going to become a issue on beet juice? Is that how it is?
Correct, Chairman. The beet juice product is an actual byproduct of the beet production, so that's a natural salt alternative.
Okay, and the Clean Air Counts Committee had a presentation by this person, Willow Spring Environment Protection, and they found that it was safe and effective. I did take the opportunity to call a few towns that is using it, and I did leave a message for Warren King to call me, but he didn't call me, but I understand that, he's probably busy. I would be a recommendation to go ahead and try this, but are you going to designate a certain area you're going to try this in?
The way we envision it now is it being a pilot program. We're going to try this, pick one ward in town, yet to be determined, with the most heavily trafficked area, perhaps some curves, perhaps some hills, perhaps some tricky intersections, and utilize it in that one ward and see if we can get a good adhesion to the road surface and be able to break that bond between the snow and the ice. After that point, we'll probably go on to a little bit larger test area and start looking at some larger areas. The main reason for the purchase of this, eco-friendly product. Number two is we've identified both last year in the expanded budget level items that we brought to you the need for doing some anti-icing and looking at some alternative methods of doing snow and ice control through the use of either anti-icing, pre-wetting, which both are kind of broken down in this first memo that you were given, And we feel that this is the best product to start our test with. Not to say that, you know, at the end of the season, we may come back and say, you know, we didn't get quite the results we wanted, but we need to start somewhere. And if we can reduce the amount of bulk road salt, de-icing salt that we're using, and we can use a more eco-friendly product in doing that, I think it's a worthwhile endeavor for the city to undertake. Mainly what you have before you is a request to purchase the anti-icing application equipment, and the actual product itself will just decrease the amount of bulk road salt we get and purchase some liquid from the MFT as we would normally do.
Okay. I am going make a recommendation that we move forward with this. Just for you know, this, okay, I gotta make a motion on the floor, then questions. The reason is I'm going to support this is because it's not a budget item, but since we did not move forward with Salt Dome, which we budget for, the money is there for it. And you know what? I did do some research on it, and I think it's worth a try to do it. So that will be my motion to approve it, to buy the equipment. Estimated cost of equipment is $7,500. And then it's $3 per gallon. What is a total, do you have a total amount?
Alderman Wesley, again, I'm really not coming to you with approval for a total dollar amount. What I'm coming to gain approval is the ability to purchase the anti-icing equipment, which is under $10,000, which is the cap. So really it was just more, can I take the money that we once had earmarked for the salt structure, use a portion of that money to buy some anti-icing equipment and proceed in doing some testing. I fully guarantee that next year, if this undertaking does come back positively, we'll come to you with a more advanced plan of how to incorporate this more into snow and ice control.
Well, you're under 10,000, so. Okay, there's a motion, there's a second. Is there a second to approve? Second. Okay, questions? I'll start at the end and work it back. Alderman Roy Wesley.
The equipment here, is this equipment going to be purchased from Eagle Melt?
No, it's not. Monroe Truck Equipment, perhaps Auto Truck. We're still eliciting prices from different vendors. Basically, it's a skid-mounted, slide-in, 200 to 400 gallon tank with a Raven control unit, a couple spray heads on it, possibly a hose reel. Still all in the works. You'll
be able to use this with other products?
We'll be able to use it with other products and on all of our one-ton style pickup trucks within the street division.
Alderman Coles.
All right, you gotta realize that you're gonna, if they spray it on, it's gonna be red. And the red does not hurt your finish of your car. You can take your car to a car wash, it'll wash off. So if you get it on a windshield, use your squirters, that'll take it off the windshield. It's a preventative before the snow comes. So if you understand that, because I read all the articles and I used it last year on my driveway. When the fair was here, I got a bag of stuff from the gentleman, and I used it on my driveway, and my dogs could walk on it, and it really melted the snow, and it stayed there. And some other snow came, and it still was good overnight. And when it got real cold, the next morning, it had melted the ice. It had disappeared. So it's good. It's a good product.
Muzio, please.
John, over here I'm reading 20 miles lane surface, each application $1,500, and then it's pre-wet application, approximate cost per storm, $1,200. I'm not, $1,500 for 20 miles and then $1,200 per storm. What does that mean?
Sure. I'll break it down for you in a little simpler terms. Anti-icing is when we go out and we physically use the $7,500 tank and application equipment to put down this product in a solution form. So that means we select roads, areas of town, intersections, hills, curves, et cetera, that we have seen problems with snow and ice bonding to the road surface. So we'll go out and use that liquid straight application with that tank spray rig. We'll go out and treat those road surfaces prior to a storm. What that does is that will prevent the bonding of snow and ice on that pavement, allowing our city crews to either get a later jump on removing that snow or to limit the amount of times our city trucks have to go back and forth over that lane mile to clear that, both with the blade and with salt rock, bulk road salt. The second price in there was a pre-wet application. Pre-wet applications are basically, when we use a bulk road salt, we sometimes, prior to it falling off the truck or being spun off the truck, we pre-wet the salt before it comes off. And we use a solution right now of straight chloride. Chloride gives us the benefit when it's extremely cold, we can cut that ice that's bound to the road surface. This product also works down to extremely cold temperatures, -20 Fahrenheit, and we can do the same thing by pre-wetting our existing salt. Chloride is extremely, extremely corrosive. Our trucks have numerous paint rust issues with using that chloride product. If we can even reduce that by a small percentage, we extend the life of the bodies on our trucks, so we're not sending those out to be sandblasted and repainted as much. We're saving other components in and around the road surface as well as vehicles traveling on that road surface.
And then we're saying we're reducing the salt we're using by 25%.
Right.
Because we're using this other, but by using both now, first using the anti-icing agent and then the salt, because it sounds like we're going, is it gonna cost us more per mile or?
Well, we have approximately just a shade over 100 lane miles in the city of Wooddale. By no means are we going to anti-ice all 100 lane miles. And it's probably a fairly lofty goal the first year if we'd even get to 20 lane miles as a routine. I'm just wanting to give the ballpark costs of if we wanted to do that. So you're looking at a cost of $1,500 to pre-apply anti-icing to 20 lane miles versus the entire application of 100 lane miles for $1,200 for pre-wetting applications. I would envision those two scenarios happening quite frequently during this winter. Together. We'll probably do some anti-icing of 20 miles, and we will probably do some pre-wetting of the entire town to the tune of $1,200. So I would still envision a reduction in overall salt usage based on the pre-wetting and based on the anti-icing that would equal to or decrease the amount of salt usage.
Because one of the things I know the manager mentioned about a month ago that we're in a contract now with Morton. We're contracting more salt than ever before, right? Correct?
Correct. We increased our tonnage that we will take by a small margin. We have a contract with Morton at $62 a ton, which is considerably less than we spent last year for the same quantity of salt. We originally would allocate 900 ton a year. This year we're at 1,000. So we basically went up 100. To give you an idea of how much we've used in the past, 2 years ago we used roughly 1,200 ton. Last year we used just over 1,100 ton. You know, our contract allotment in Wooddale had always been 900. For as far back as I can go with Morton Salt, we've always been at 900. Unfortunately, the last two winters have been relatively, above average, so we've used more salt. This year, we expect that we're going to probably use a little less than, the allocated amount that we had. Now, bear in mind, I have roughly 250 to 300 ton left over from last year. So by me saying I'm planning on using 1,000 ton this year, and I purchased 1,000, I still have that 300 ton left in reserve. So there's always a little bit of play back and forth there.
All right.
Yeah, I think Alderman Coles has convinced me that he's got enough research done that we're not going to have people complaining that this is hurting the finish of their cars. But is there enough research out there so that we won't get people complaining that their white wall tires are permanently stained or something like that? I mean,
All washed out.
Really,
I
this
said
is
it'll
not,
all wash off.
this won't even stain into a porous material. Fine. Okay, that's all. Just kind of
I
curious.
think what we could do is we could put it on the website, we could put it in the newsletter, and we could tell them that we are going to try this. I think we could publish it on our signs and that, for people who are aware of it. And if they have concerns, they could call the city hall and ask. John, go ahead, John.
Currently, it is being used on Wooddale Road in the turn lane, and I want to say the two left-hand lanes toward the end of the year I saw was actually being used prior to. So I haven't heard or gotten any complaints from local residents other than some windshield splatter that came off relatively easy, like Alderman Cole said, with just by using your washer fluid, or worse yet, if it dried on there, taking it to the wash just to spray your windshield off. So I don't envision any true complaints coming from the use of this product.
Alderman Weiner? Alderman Chark? Okay, there's a motion, there's a second, all in favor? Aye. Oppose? No oppose. My other item is number 8, report and recommendation to hire engineer company URS Corp. to not to exceed $107,843.00. This will be for the engineering study on Forest View, Harvey, Oakwood, Edgewood, Phase 1 engineer. Topographic survey and drainage study. That will be my motion. It is a budget item. So that will be my motion to approve that.
Second.
I have a second. Questions? Mr. Nuzio?
Dave, I see URS is the engineer on this. Do we have any other engineers that specialize in this type of work on the list? Because now this is the third project in a row that this firm has received. I'm just thinking.
Well, the other two were lumped together, so to me, this is like their second project. But
Okay.
yeah, we also hired engineering resource associates to do the South Cedar study.
Okay, so it's not all the same.
No, it's not all the same. We rotate between the firms.
I just don't want anybody to get too comfortable. I want to make sure they sharpen the pencil.
No, we've been using different firms for different things.
Mr. Cadala?
Dave, I've asked you to talk about this project before, and I'm kind of hoping you wouldn't mind giving me another 30 to 60-second scenario. Once again, as you know, as a means of informing the residents of these streets, what it is that that's going to be happening here, what to expect from this study, and where we hope the study is going to lead physically.
Well, we always knew that these streets were a little bit unique in that they had the rural section without curb and gutter or sidewalk, but we didn't feel that would be appropriate to put them on our reconstruct list to give them the full treatment. And also, they ranked relatively high in our streets efficiency study, and since that was done, the winters have been hard on them, and there's been a lot of deterioration out there, and we didn't want to do just one of the streets. I think we decided all along we wanted to treat them as a group and do them all together. So the purpose of this study, basically, number one, do a full topographic survey, design level survey of the whole area, so that when we do final design plans, we'll have that information. Do a drainage study, not drainage study of Salt Creek, but drainage study of the ditches and the local problems out there to try and fix those. Also to develop a typical roadway section, that we can all agree on, and we'll have other meetings on it, but some other ideas of what that future section should be, whether we have shoulders, ditches. I know a lot of areas the ditches have been filled. We might want to restore those, or bioswales, or whatever roadway treatment. This study will look at some of those options. So it's not a final design, but it'll be something that can easily be turned into a final design.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Christine? Alderman Sharkey? Anything on it?
Yes, I had mentioned before, I think, matter of fact, the mayor mentioned it, about the idea, now this is $107,000?
$107,843.
And we've already spent, what, $57,000
I don't
for
have
the
it
other
in front of
two?
me. roughly, I
About
think.
45,000 on the South Cedar and 36,000 for the other one.
Wait, so roughly 50, 60,000.
So, so $163,000 for what we call 3 studies.
This is not just drainage like those other ones were. I mean, there's a lot more going on here. We just mentioned that.
Right, but I still think that it might be worthwhile looking into the possibility of a part-time from like Baxter and Woodman or somebody to look at these items in the future and probably get it done a lot quicker for a lot less money.
Okay. All right, we could look at that. I mean, if staff needs to, someone needs to talk to Wally and the mayor and see what direction you guys want to go, or give them some idea. I mean, I see your point, but, I mean, I don't think Wally can answer that tonight. So, there's a motion on the floor, a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Oh, opposed? One opposed, sorry. Number 9 is done. Items to be considered future meeting. Brush pickup. Could I ask one thing right now, Dave? What's the status